Hi everybody, welcome to the webinar of the Safire Smart training, part number 3. Today I will introduce some new products that we are adding to the line. First of all, I would like to do a short recap of the product line and ranges, okay? So we have the XVRs from Safire Smart. Then we have the 3 different gammas: entry level, mid level, and high range level. So these are starting from 2 megapixels, so full HD, then 4 megapixel resolutions and 8 megapixel resolutions. For the analog series, we have the coax cable cameras that with the B series is for 2 megapixels, and with the E series is 5 megapixels, as a night color starlight sensor, and optional audio as well. So for the IP range, we have the B1 series that we are not yet familiar with, but pretty soon we're going to have training about this one as well. I'd rather start with the advanced stuff. I know a lot of people that are watching and they're pretty familiar already with the A1 and the A2. By the way, the A1 and the A2 series is going to disappear. Maybe you already noticed from the product side that they are not available anymore. Basically is that the B series 2 is going to be the same, having the same features as the A2 series. And for the cameras on the IP ranges, we have the B series, E series, and the I series. Additional on the I series is the I series 2. And as we remember from the last webinar, the I series 4 megapixel can have metadata, so that you'll be able to do people counting and also collecting data from people and cars, so that you can filter on people with a red shirt or a black shirt, having a cap or glasses, if you want to find somebody quickly. So now we have it also at with 8 megapixels, and that's the I2 series. And the IP PTZ cameras are the same. There are no new ones. So this is like I told you, it's a short recap. So if anybody has questions about it, you can ask Anastasia if there are questions. Okay. So let's move on. The introduction of the new models. Okay. I will go a little bit slower now. So in here I took the images of the back sides of the recorder. I think that's the most interesting part of the installers, to get a little bit familiar and have also a visual how it looks like at the back side. Okay. So the entry B series with 8 channels, they have dual LAN. Why dual LAN? One for the IP cameras and one to connect to your local network area. This will eliminate traffic on the existing network. So for example, if you're running like all cameras on 8 megapixels, you know that the data transport will be some amount of data, and that can also block traffic depending on the switches that being used in the network, obviously. But let's assume that we have all a simple network with maximum of 1 gig or maybe some 100 megabytes. So then it will be very useful to use this one. In generally speaking, I always recommend using the second LAN for your IP cameras, so that doesn't have any conflicts in the local network, like an IP conflict. So when there is an IP conflict, you will not have any images on your recorder anymore, or on the other side, a server can go down. at some point. Then the second image is the image with the PoE connections. That one has only one LAN and the rest is PoE. From the tickets that I got, I had some people that are using a switch behind the PoE connection. This can work, but might also give you problems. In general, those PoE connections are being configured to work only for one device. So even though if you give everything fixed IP addresses, it works. It might work, but as soon as you start rebooting the recorder, you might be getting issues because the recorder cannot find directly one camera. So please do not use it. If you want to use a switch, you take the one with the dual LAN and then you connect the PoE switch from the uplink to the LAN 2 connection. Now the 32 channel has a difference with two HDMI outputs. One is together with the VGA, same like the other models with less channels. The HDMI 2 is an output for a spot monitor. A spot monitor can be used for an entrance of a shop, or if somebody extra needs to monitor a few cameras, but not all the cameras, or you can program it as you would like to program it. I will show you later on when we go to enter the recorder. Another nice thing that still remains from the A2 series, but not in the A1, is like de-wrapping fisheye cameras. A fisheye camera is a camera like this. Let me show it here. So it looks like this. You have a 360 image and you can do virtual PTZ functions. You can de-wrap up to 4 images. So you can basically have a 360 view on 4 different channels. It will always record in 360 view, so like the real fisheye view, and later on you can de-wrap as well if you want to review the recordings of this one. All recorders are ONVIF compatible. All the recorders have the NDA certificates. Basically what it means, it doesn't use a Huawei chip or any other chip that is banned by some governments. So for government projects, you can inform them or show them the certificate so that it's authentic as well. Another feature is called face tracking on map, so that if a face is being recognized, you can track it all the way to different cameras. And this could be a nice feature for in shopping malls or big shops. Now we have also the new Safire LPR cameras. They come in 2 models, one with zoom lens, the other one without. So it has a motorized zoom lens of 8 to 32 millimeters, audio, infrared up to 100 meters. Obviously it could recognize the license plate and you can manage them as well. And if connected to a recorder, it also works on a B1 recorder. You can manage a parking lot, so you can display how you can set up the available space, and then the camera in combination with the recorder, especially if you have 2 entrances, it can deduct the amount of free spaces and you can display those on a screen, for example. I will show you that later on in the live demo. What is also new is got a Vigant output. So if you're using an access control that has Vigant input, you can use the camera to send the data of the license plates and the access control unit software can give access to enter a gate or a parking lot, or in what form you want to have it. Here is a simple image. By the way, everything is available in the support pages on the Visiotech school. If you do not have access, use your email address and click on forgot password, and then you will receive a new password in your email to have access to this one. So if you're looking at the pages, for example in this case the image might be a little bit small, so you click on right mouse and then you open it in a new tab, and you will see the image a little bit bigger. So here is a simple sample of the parking lot management system. So you can give it a name, you can enter the total parking space and the remaining space. Why the remaining space? Because sometimes when you configure it, there are already spots occupied by somebody. So let's move on. So, oh, by the way, I have already, with every part I have a deep link. So if you click on it, it will open directly the page where you can buy the cameras. If I go too fast, please give a comment, or if you want to have a question about the camera, then please ask. I think the new thermal cameras are amazing. From the test that I did, it's got a thermal sensor and an optical lens. The optical lens is 5 megapixels. AI classification, so it works on vehicles and humans. You can do more tasks at the same time. In general line of the normal cameras, you can only use one task, so like line crossing or entering or exiting a region, or you can use the metadata, but not at the same time. With this camera, you can use stuff at the same time. I will show you later on with a live demo. Even for the thermal part, you can have up to 10 options checking the temperature on a line, an area, or simple a dot. Like we mentioned before, we have also now the i2 series with the IA advanced system, so that you can capture the metadata, facial recognition, and it has a resolution of 8 megapixels. Then the 360 camera that I already showed you has a 6 megapixel lens, 360 angle, audio, alarms, SD card up to 265 gigabytes. It's IP proofed. PoE. By the way, all the Safire Smart cameras are IP cameras are PoE, so power over Ethernet. Has an alarm input and output, and also a BNC connector. I can show you shortly. I don't know if it comes clearly on the screen. See, the connectors has a 12 volt input. If you are not having a PoE switch, then BNC for an extra spot monitor on the spot. So yes. So far, any questions on the new products and ranges?
Not working.
Not really. Okay. Not really. So there's one. No.
No.
That means I'm doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Sorry. Let's talk about the B2 NVR installation. The camera setup. Sorry. So I have an image here, a sample image of a setup. Let me open it in the new window, okay, so you have a clear look. So the NVR has two LAN connections. So what do you do to avoid traffic in your local network? So the first LAN port or the second, depending on your wishes. I think it makes more sense to use port 1 to connect to your router or your local network switch. And the LAN number 2, you connect to a PoE switch. I can enlarge it a little bit for you so that it will be more clear. So for that one, you use the uplink because you don't need to use any PoE. So on the PoE side, you can use the PoE cameras. Let's say you have more than 8 cameras. Many switches PoE switches has 2 uplinks. In this case, you can use the other one to continue to the other PoE switch. Keep in mind, if it's a very big installations like 22 cameras or even more cameras, keep in mind that the switches need to be capable of managing all the data as well. So it's not without limits. I know we have also switches up to 52 gigabytes data transport, so it is possible. Let me close this one. If you want to read it back, what I just told you, it's already here. So let me see. Okay, how to configure those cameras? Because if you're not using the PoE connections on the recorder, the recorder cannot activate the cameras. So what do? Let me enlarge this image. So what do? So in this case, we are still having the PoE switch with 2 uplinks. You connect here, the other uplink, you connect your PC. If you're not using 8 cameras, you can also use one of the PoE, because the PoE switches are intelligent enough. If a device doesn't need power, it will not give any power. So in this case, you can use the IP management tool. Let me open this one for you to have a better view. So if you scan on the cameras, you will see all the devices that are in the network. It even shows the ONTIF devices that are connected in the network. So what you do is you activate here the camera. You can even do a batch activation, so you click all the cameras that are inactive, like you can see here on the picture. So you give the password, confirm the password, and then you click activate. After the activation, you're not done yet. Okay. You need to give the cameras also an IP address. So in this case, what you do is you go to Ethernet port 2. I will show you later on the live demo, and then you will check the internal network IP range. Remember, the internal IP network range cannot be the same as port number 1. It works similarly like a router. The one side cannot have the same range as the LAN part. So it's important to, if this is all correct, so if this one is different than from the port number 1, you write down this IP address, or what you can do, what I usually do, is make it simple. Okay, very common in internal networks are the IP range 10.10. or 10.0, whatever you want. I would like to keep it simple, so in general I would use like the 10.10.10. It's quite simple. So for example, if you're going to connect more than one camera, or 8 cameras in this case, if you have an 8-channel recorder, or 16, doesn't matter, So what you can do is you select all the cameras, then you select the tab batch set network configuration. Then you start using the following IP addresses. Remember, for the recorder, I give the IP address 10. So you start from 11 until, even you have only selected 2 or 10, this needs to be always higher. Otherwise, it cannot work fine. You click on batch set, and all the cameras will be automatically getting the new IP address. Let me close this one. So after that, you go into the camera settings and you go via the function panel to edit cameras and then add cameras. You can do a quickly add that will scan all the cameras. Be aware, the recorder is also scanning the cameras on the LAN side. So you select the cameras that you already give an IP address, and then you add it to the recorder. It should be pretty straightforward. And when everything is connected, you will see also the sign that it's online over here. Let me pause 1 second because I'm starting something that could be very nice for you guys to have. I mentioned that in previous videos as well. Okay, no questions, right?
No.
Great job.
Great job.
So another thing that could be very interesting, okay? I will explain this very shortly. If you're really interested, you can read the article as well, or you can call support for some extra help setting up this way of connecting an extra switch on, or router, sorry, on the LAN, on the LAN 2 side from the recorder, I'm sorry. So how does it work? And why should you do it? I'm talking in this case of a Rigi router, and for this sample I took the cheapest model that we have. So with the cheapest model, what can you do? If you have it installed on the application or in a Rigi cloud, you can create a tunnel. Why would you create a tunnel? So in case of something is failing, or in case a client wants to have a different configuration for that camera setup, like you have enabled line crossing and the client doesn't want to have line crossing anymore, and you need to access the camera directly for some reason. What you can do is, or you need to access the recorder directly. What you can do is, so from the administration, you write down all the IP addresses from which camera is which camera. Via the virtual port that you can create a direct link to the camera. So you can open your Internet Explorer and type in the IP address and the port number, and this small Rigi router will direct you directly without opening ports in the main router to that specific camera. Sorry. So how to set it up? So you see, like we still have the one uplink connected to the NVR, the other one we go on the LAN port, and the one port you connect to the router. That one needs to be connected always because the device needs to have an internet connection. The way it works, the device connects to the cloud server of Rigi, and in that way it creates a tunnel so that you can work directly on the camera from remote. And the PC you connect temporarily to configure your router and add it to your cloud connection. For this, depending on your knowledge of networking, if you do not have a lot of experience with networking, I would recommend to use the Ethernet port on obtain an IP address automatically, so DHCP on. That also contains then for the cameras, even though you can give them later on a fixed IP address. But in this case, I would recommend also documenting the IP addresses for the cameras. This for later service on, especially when you're working from remote on the system. It's good to have and to know which IP address is connected to which camera. Here I have an example how you should do it. Let me see in the tool. So you activate the camera first. We already saw this. And then over here in the configuration for the network, you set obtain IP address automatically. So you select all the cameras and then you select this one and then you select the batch setup. Then if everything is done, you should see this, that it got an IP address from that router. Again, you go to add the cameras, like in the other one. Let me show you very quickly how it looks like. Let me zoom in here. So now you have here the IP range of the second router. So I hope this will give you a new idea how to set up and prepare stuff for later on maintenance without driving to the customer, especially in countries where you need to travel a lot of distance. Especially in the Nordics, for example. Norway, there are not a lot of people in the north. So you save a lot of time and you're not wasting any energy, and you can change stuff very easily and quickly without doing port forwarding or getting conflicts with the IP department, etc., etc. So you are in control. Let me see if there are some questions. No questions. Nice. Okay. The LPR camera. The LPR camera can detect and recognize number plates of the cars. Also, those number plates you can store in the database of the recorder. So let me open this one. So what is nice about this camera, it has one detection area and you have 4 blocked areas to make sure that any reflections of a mirror or a window reflects a number plate for some reason. So this is more secure to have your data correct. So in here you can also set the measurements of the license plates. Like it is being showed over here. You see, okay, minimum this small and maximum that small. So if there's any confusion, it might also take, if it looks like letters from a number plate, it might also take a name at the side of a truck. So it might be important to set a minimum and maximum, especially if the entrance of the parking lot is directly on the street and there's not a lot of distance. So if a truck passes by, you don't want to have that. So only when the car is in front of the gate on a certain point, and then you can decide the maximum and the minimum. Okay, now the recognition part. So the options that you have on the license plate recognition. You can have the buzzer on from the recorder, a pop-up video, an email, or a pop-up message box. In general, it doesn't get used very often. But what is a nice feature to have is when a license plate is being triggered, like if it's a strange license plate or a successful one, let's assume it's a strange license plate. You can tell any PTZ camera that is connected to the same recorder as well to zoom in on the driver or a position that you pre-programmed. So first of all, you set a preset in the camera. Then you will tell here in this configuration page, if you see a strange license plate, that the PTZ camera needs to zoom in. Or you can even use the LPR camera if you have one with the zoom lens to zoom even farther in to get more details. This can be also used in gas stations, especially nowadays that the gas prices are rising up like sky limit, and so you want to have a good capture of the driver in case of he runs off and you want to get your money back. You can report this to the police. So it's a nice feature to have, and also to recommend using. Maybe you can sell a PTZ camera extra to your client. Huh? I mean, it's all about surviving. So let's see. Well, I have a live view. Okay, this is in front of our office. So if you have the live view on, and a plate is recognized, it will show up here on the side of the live view. Remember, it's a live view, so if you forgot to turn it on, it will only show up the next coming plates. Okay. So adding license plates to the database. So you go to the analytics, and then you go into the database. Looking up the license plate data. So you can go to the analytics, then the sample database, or the events. So in this case, I took a sample. We can do that later on as well. Keep in mind, focus on this one. I made some mistakes before. I forgot to select certain kind of options, and it doesn't show. So I don't know if you remember the last time with the red shirt, but anyhow, now you know it's like doing a good job, filtering, selecting the cameras that you need to filter. Otherwise, you don't get any good data. What are the options? When you click here on the three dots, you will get a new window, a snap detail window. It will show you the time shot of the snap timestamp. Well, it depends on how you use it. Timestamp. I would like to use timestamp. Anyhow, then it shows you also the camera name. This is very useful if you have more than one camera or more than one entrance. You can do, hey, entrance north side, south side, or entrance gate number 1, 2. It shows you the complete image. It will show you also the license plate, because from this image, you will not tell, you cannot read the license plate, but it will be enlarged. Nice. It will give you the information on the plate. Nice. At the same time, you can register the plate in the database. So, for example, when there are some people for the blacklist or the whitelist, you can register the license plate directly. And you have also to do playback and you see the car arriving. In the registration, again, you have the plate number. You can add the vehicle type. So if it's a van, or if it's a station wagon, or a SUV, you can put in the owner's name, his mobile number. In case something is wrong, you can always call the guy. And also you can create groups and select the group over here where you want to put the plate in. The sample database, you can manually add groups and plate numbers as well. So same thing like before. Then there's also a option of bulk entry. So if a company or a client provides you the list with license plate that they have already, this is the format that they need to provide you the license plate format. They could do it in Excel and then save it as a CSV document, like described over here. You can see also here, when you click on the bulk entry, how you need to do that. So a lot of new information, I guess. Mm-hmm. I hope I did it well. I see. No questions, no chat. Okay, great. The thermal camera, some Safire Smart. Oh. So when adding, because it's got two lenses, the thermal lens and the optical lens, it will add two cameras. So if you're having a lot of thermal cameras, keep in mind the number of channels that you need to use on a recorder. The configuration of the thermal cameras, let me open this one so it's a little bit more clear for you guys and also for me, so that I know what I'm talking about. So the options, what you have here, let's start with the fire detection on the thermal lens. Okay, you have fire detection and temperature detection. In the temperature detection mode, if you enable it, you have up to 10 rules to measure. The options are a point, an area, or a line. You can set the values over here when alarm needs to go off. It could be higher temperatures, it could be lower temperatures. And in here you can give it a name. For example, if you're monitoring a power plant with steam lines, that's more critical, you set the temperature limits, and after that you can set or trigger the alarm. So in here you see point, line, or area. So I hope this is clear. I will go deeper in with the live demo, and then you can also have questions, so that I will do my best to show how it works. Well, 360 cameras, it's pretty obvious. It's a fisheye. Here we have a nice sample. So it's a fisheye. It looks very ugly like this, but if you de-wrap it, it comes out as a normal picture. So far the new products that are available. No questions. It's too good. It's too good to be true. Okay. The analytics. I showed this in the previous video as well, so let me do a quick recap. So, for example, here's the target counting. So what you can do is, when you have a camera set up as a target counting, you can count how many people are coming in and out. I think it's a very nice option. This option is also available on this camera. Please remind me later on the combinations of the demo camera with the option cameras and where you can use it, because there are some situations where you would like to use it. Especially when I'm lately watching the news, there are like people, they have the needs to put somebody's door on fire or place a bomb in front of a shopping entry or whatever. So for this reason, you could use this camera for multiple purposes. So you don't have 3 cameras in front of a window for the 3 purposes that you want to use it. So I will show you later on how to do it. Anyhow, let's get back to the target counting. So you can use the thermal camera also as target counting. So you see exactly how many people has left or entered the building or shop or working place. Could be useful also for cafes, bars, like during closing time, that nobody's hiding in the toilet. I know a case that it happened. So, and afterwards they stole a lot of equipment that we saw later on in the videos. So,
Wow.
and equipment of thousands of euros.
Wow.
So with a camera of euros, you're buying. Yes, you can save a lot of money by investing a little bit more. And do not fill out on any features from normal cameras. Here the sample of how to get the metadata sample. So target counting. So you select this one, you enable this one, you set a line where it needs to count. I know it doesn't make sense to put it here, but in case of the angle of the camera, it's not wise to put it here because it will not count very well. So that's the only difference from this image. Here you see you can also do a daily reset. Keep in mind, these are cameras, they are not human eyes and not human visions. So if the angle or a person is blocked entering and has a carton on his face, it will not show that a person entered the building. Okay. Same for the LPR cameras. Like I showed you in a picture before, you have this detection area. By the way, you always need to enable it. Another thing that I want to mention that I forgot about it, the B2 series, depending on the number of channels, but with the 8th channel, you have the option to enable the IA events on the recorder itself. So let's say you have a dumb camera that doesn't have any artificial intelligence installed in the camera, you can use the function from the recorder. So in any other case, there is a specific camera of the wishes of the client and he doesn't want to change it and has on VIV, you should be able to connect it and then you can use the intelligence from the recorder itself. Creating statistics, you go into this option of the analytics, statistics, and then you select the camera, obviously, that has the option enabled for the statistics. And in this case, you select the target counting. And then you click on OK, and then you will see the results here. Also, you can select the day, week, month, quarter, or any different customization that you would like to see. There's also the option to export it. and then it will export it in Excel. Here's a little sample. So it's by the hour, depending on how you export it. So if it's on like a month, you will get the months or the days, how many people entered. Same for the LPR. In this demo, I had 2 LPR cameras connected. So you can select the detection, you can or select the recognition successful or the strange plate. And in here you can also see the statistics, and again obviously you can a nice option, you can remove the duplicate plates, because it might be possible on a parking lot that people are entering multiple times and exiting. And well, if you don't want to see it double, you click on this one and then it will export. So I have now the PTZ displayed. It's set up by auto tracking. Let's go to the license plate cameras. So you will see here on the right side, you will see all the information popping up with the license plate cameras, and it took one from the LPR2 camera and the other LPR camera. If you want to do a playback on anything here, so what you see here, so like, okay, this is very interesting, so you can directly put a playback here. And you will see a playback of the event. Let's go back to the live stream. So what we can do first, let's go over the functions of the new type cameras. Let's start with the simple camera first, the LPR camera, right? Okay. LPR camera. Okay, we have here the detection part. Let me see if I can have it a little bit clearer here, like this. I'll put it a little bit more, like this, yeah. So in here, okay, we have the detection area. You can set it up, like you can clear it, okay. And then if you want to have a new one, you press the left mouse button and then you select the area where you want to have the recognition of the license plate. This might be a little bit too high. Let's put it a little bit lower. So in this area, I want to have the detection. You see this car is going to the left, it will never ever detect that camera or the plate. So let's make it bigger. We clear it and we put this area. So now let's say you don't want to have it here. So what you can do is you take part, the block area number 1, and to see all the areas, you click on all areas, and then you start pointing out the areas that you don't want to have. So it might cross the area as well what you want like to have detected. For example, it's just like this angle, this triangle, you don't want to. So you can do this, and then you can do up to 4 areas that you do not want to connect, like this one. For the last dub, you just double click on your left mouse button, okay. Then the other option is to display the margins of the maximum and the minimum, okay. So, oops, I need to clear it. Wait a minute, let me see. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot.
No worries.
Clear? So for the minimum maximum, you type in the percentage of minimum, let's say 10%, and maximum should be 40%. Oh. Or like 20%. You go here, you see the window's getting smaller. It doesn't mean that it's only this area. It's within this area, it detects the minimum of the plate and the maximum of the plate. Be careful though, because the minimum is 1, so it could be very small, depending on the situation, how you would like to set up. Sometimes you need to sit for a while when cars are coming in or passing the area. So over here you have the apply button. So now the configuration is set up like this. And here in the advanced, overall detection recognize when it's approaching or driving away. So in this case now it is when driving away and approaching. So for example, you have 2 cameras, one for entering, and somebody is making a turn on the entrance. You don't want to have it, for example. So if you want only the drive away detections, you can select it over here, or the approaching. Depending on the situation, what is more important for this situation. But that's up to the client's decisions or your input on the client, what is more important for the situation. Then we have here the recognition. Okay, so you have the strange plate recognition and the successful ones. So in here, the strange plate, you can select the pop-up, you can let the buzzer go on, you can have a push notification as well. So like restricted areas with a gate, if some car is following the other car, and you can detect the strange plate in an area where they shouldn't enter, you can have a push notification on the application or in the VMS of Safire Smart. Then there are also some actions which you can do. You can let the PTZ camera zoom in. You can select the other camera with a zoom. Okay, we didn't have any presets on this one. Do we have? No, on this one also not. So what we can do, we can make a preset. Okay, so go backwards here. So we go to live view. You select the camera. Then you choose the PTZ options. Okay. Then you say, okay, let's zoom in like this, and we add the preset. We can give it a name, zoom in, and you do okay. So now we have a preset over here. Let's zoom out. We go back to intelligent functions. Sorry. This one, and then we go back to LPR. We go to recognition, strange plate, and no, this one we didn't configure it. So, and this one. So if there's a strange plate and we do apply, if a strange plate that is not registered in the database you can find over here, it will zoom in on the car. The other way around, you could do also with successful ones. Or both. And what you can do is add another option. Let's see. with the strange plate. Let me see, schedule one. You can also schedule what it needs to be coming. Text prompt, you can add it. Enable alarm output pulses. For example, like opening a gate or just closing a gate. Like, for example, this is a public area, but you close the area after 10 o'clock. But there are some cars you don't want to have entered the parking lot. So what you can do is like a strange plate, activate a relay that the gate will close. Or some barrier that you want to use for this one. So then you select again here, zoom in, and you click apply. Now back to the database. So like showed before, you can add a group, test, okay, and in that group, or you can edit the group again if you make a spelling mistake or whatever, in that add a plate. So in this case you can also change from group to group, so you add a plate number. If I open this one, I have one van registered. You see, for privacy reasons, already some numbers are blocked. But if you edit it, you can see the plate. Let's see, any questions about this part?
No, we have one about the regi router, but that's later.
Okay, we do that later. Please remind me.
Yes, we got it.
Okay, parking lot management, it's pretty simple. So you give it a name, you tell how many places are available. Let's say there are already 10 cars, so you put here 10, and then you click on apply. Oh, so what does it mean? If it's full, the gate doesn't open. Also in the management system, you can show that it's full, like if you have a display for the parking lot. In here you have also options, how many spaces, when, the vans, no parking allowed. So you can say, hey, this group on this schedule doesn't have clearance to go in or out. For example, if you have a transport or whatever facility with vans or whatever, you can name it a different group and say, hey, after 10 o'clock nobody's allowed to go out with a company car. You can arrange that via here. You can make it as complicated as you would like to have. So in here you can also define the entrance and the exit. Like one camera I have the entrance and the other one is the exit. And here you have the display to show if you would like to have a setup like this. You can even correct stuff like a license plate if it didn't recognize the plate very good. Also keep in mind the angle of the camera that needs to recognize the license plate. So if you have a lot of failure, check the angle. I know it's not any ideal spot to have it mounted, but from my point of view, in this test situation, it works good. If you want to go back, you just go here. Oh, you can also manually open the gate. Well, there's no gate, but anyhow, it's possible. For so far the LPR camera, there might be some questions.
No, so far so good.
Okay, so it might be also that you have a new situation. You can always
This question.
ask us to assist you if you have a request for a parking lot management. Then I would love to go to the thermal camera, because I think that it is an amazing camera. Let's start first with the live view. So again, this one is outside. You can see it's set up by counting. So you can see how many people walked in, how many people left, and how many people stayed. If this number is like a little bit strange, it's correct. Because the gate to walk in is on the left side, it's not over here. These are the cars that entered today. So entry was 37, exit 14, and there are now 59 cars being registered by this camera. So keep in mind, the setup is very important. Also, non-motorized vehicles can be registered. So I guess there are like 5 people here on the bicycle. The thermal part. Has a nice clear view.
Oh, nice.
So let's go to the settings of the camera. That's the most important or interesting part. Okay. Okay, start with face recognition. Remember that I told you can use the technology from the recorder?
Yeah.
Then it will be showing up here. So in this case, this camera doesn't have face recognition, but you can use the technology from the NVR by selecting this. But we don't want to do that. We want to discuss the thermal camera. Let's go first to the thermal part. That's, I think, most interesting. What is the best part is, like, you can do line crossing and intrusion at the same time. So what does it mean? With the target detection and the trigger mode, you can activate different options, like a preset from this camera when it has an intrusion on this parameter. So if something enters this part, and you can also select the detection part, like only for humans, or the other way around, or only for bicycles. You can set the sensitivity, how to detect it in case of false detection. And at the same time, you can do that also for line crossing. For line crossing and for intrusion mode, you can set a trigger mode. You can let an audio go out, so it has a speaker inside. It has a flashing light. So, for example, when somebody is crossing this line, the LED will flash. Especially in nighttime, or for private houses in the countryside, when it's foggy and those normal optical lenses cannot detect everything because it's foggy, or when it's raining, it can have a lot of interruption. But the thermal part is pretty amazing. At the same time as well, you can activate fire detection. And also, again, trigger mode. Later on we can have some more options in the camera itself. Coming back to the regio router with the person with the question, there are more options in the camera itself as well. So for each part you can set a different audio message. Again, at the same time, you can also enable certain spots of interest. Like I have here, let me show all the areas. So in here I have one line, two line, I have an area, and I have dots to measure. So here we see a white area, this is a camera. So on here it will see directly the temperature of this camera. And in here you can see when I would like to have the alarm. So let's not display all the areas. So now I will see the dot that I put on the post. So if that post has the temperature of 55 degrees, I would like to have an alarm. Alarm rule, you can change it, or greater than or less than. For a line, let me see, now I have selected number 3, and it will show also the line directly. And this one is for the camera. Again, trigger motions, trigger options, you can select it here. Also recording, so you can say if there's some action to be taken, I also want to record the optical part as well. Maybe also the PTZ, because it's filming the same direction. Or if for example, you have the PTZ activated, you click on OK, you can also make a preset specially for that area. So what happens? In case of a temperature detection, the action can be recording the thermal camera, optical camera, and the PTZ. And the PTZ will move to that direction that you save the preset. So you have multiple options to record an event, especially in case of a fire or a temperature raise, like in a power plant, for example. Apply. So, any questions about so far on the thermal part?
You know, you asked us to remind you about the combination. So there's thermal and there's optional.
Optical.
Optical, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, let's switch over now to the optical part. Okay. The optical part has also an option of target counting and exception detection. Again, this might surprise you, but you can use target counting and line crossing at the same time. You see, enabled by the camera. Oh, sorry. Target counting enabled. Exception detection. Detection target, so you can switch stuff on and off. So, okay, now I remember what I want to talk about. That lately on the news I see that, like, for some reason people like to set entries of houses or stores on fire. So in this case, if you have an entrance of a store, you want to have people counting, you want to have line crossing, and you want to have also the thermal or fire detection. This camera, well, I think it's amazing because you have all the options in just one camera. In the past, we had some comments like, okay, I want this and this and this in one camera altogether. So the answer is, in general, no, it's not possible. Now it is with this camera. So with just one camera, you can have a whole lot of options. You can have the fire detection. So even though if it's outside and you don't have a smoke detection outside, you can have an alarm when it's something is happening. Right? So I think I covered everything for this part and the LPR part. Sorry. The rest of the functions you can also check in the previous video because they work all the same. Let me see if I forgot something. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's interesting as well. I disconnected the camera so I cannot have stuff for viewback purposes. I feel like I forgot something. There are several ways to access the thermal camera, or typing in the IP address, or you go to edit, the thermal camera. So you click on configuration, it will open a new tablet and go directly into the camera. So here we have all the information that we need in just one overview. So the thermal camera and the normal camera. You can enable the audio, the alarms, light, turn on. Yeah, I'm sorry, we do not see anything because it's dark. Configuration, this is the most important part, I think. So in the temperature measurement, we go to area. So in this case, post, and there's a temperature setup. And in here, you can select which audio file needs to be played back, if that's needed. Or you just disable it and click on OK. And also the schedule of the alarms you can manage over here. So this is one part that is, I think, important to know, that you cannot do via the NVR, but you always have the option to do it directly in the camera. I don't know how many people are using the audio files. Maybe it's not even important to do it. Here you have the line crossing. So in the line crossing, you can also select what you want to do. So, for example, this is a restricted area. So if somebody crossed the line, the audio will go out and it will tell the person, can hear, hey, this is a restricted area, please go back, or no, leave as soon as possible. And here you see the line. And this is also possible for the thermal part. Detecting, private area, no entry. You can have the light flashing on, especially in the dark. So again, private house, in the woods, stranger comes in. You have the flashing white, even though when it's foggy or rainy. Well, I guess the other settings you are familiar with. If not, please check the previous video. It's available on YouTube, like how to set up the streaming and the codec. Audio settings, etc, etc. Also the volume. All right. Okay then. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Anastasia, for assisting me.
Absolutely. The pleasure is mine.
And thank you for Philip, my new colleague. He joined us as well today. Well, I hope to see you next time. And don't forget, if you have any questions, please ask sales. For any special offers on the Safire Smart cameras. I think there are some special offers right now. If you watch this video or the live stream, contact your salesperson, okay? Hope to see you next time. And as always, have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much, Paddy.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want to know more about our security products, subscribe to the Visiotech channel and activate the notifications to always stay updated on the latest videos.